had just gotten back from out of the country and I heard my mom yelling, "Get up, get up." I rushed on over and I found my little brother laying on the ground, unresponsive and limp. My life was quiet, peaceful, serene. Some may say carefree. I was the only child. My parents, they were immigrants. Their English was limited. And growing up, I went to a daycare. It's not your typical daycare, no. It was a very non-traditional Vietnamese daycare. And every single day, I would go there. Ever since I could remember, maybe first grade, all the way up to about 5th grade. My parents, they would pick me up at around 7 to 8 p.m. every single day. So I did not spend a lot of time with my own family members. So this went on until I was 6th grade on November 25th, 2008. That's when he was born. It was an odd feeling. I felt good to be an older brother. You always see in the movies, the older brother is this protective person to their younger sibling. But I started to learn that by becoming an older sibling, you started to accept more responsibilities. And those responsibilities started racking up and up and up. It's not something a 12-year-old kid who had been, for the first 12 years of his life, the only child, is not something he appreciates. So the resentment started with him constantly being praised. Probably the worst thing that can happen to you is being compared by your parents to somebody else, especially your younger sibling. Everybody called him clever. He was able to get a lot of things that I was never able to. An iPad, a phone, a computer, love. Yeah, the relationship that my brother and I never really took off. That was until about 2019. So in 2019, I went out of the country and I came back home. It had only been a few hours since I had come back home. I was sitting in my room on this very chair. I heard my mom yelling to my brother, "Wake up, wake up." So I rushed on over. What met me was my younger brother laying unconsciously on the ground. He was breathing at a very slow rate. It was strange. So my mom started saying, "We need to take him to the hospital right now." And so I went with it. I said, "Let's go." But my mom wanted to take Danny to a hospital near our old house. But I had this strange feeling. I didn't think it was a good idea. So I rejected her and said, "Hey, I know a hospital that I see every single day I go down to my college. Let's go there." I picked Danny up, so I carried him to the van and I was trying to slap his face to get him to wake up. We had this eerie feeling where if he fell asleep, he might have fallen asleep forever. And so we got to the hospital. I rushed to the reception. I said, "My little brother, he's having trouble breathing. We don't know what to do." So they roll out a gurney, they place him on it, and they ship him off into a room. The first thing they did was they started cutting off his clothes and they started intubating him. They did a whole bunch of, I don't even know. It was scary. Afterwards, they kicked us out of the room. My mom and I, we just stood there for a good 30 minutes. That's when a doctor came out and said, "We don't specialize in kids. So we're going to have to take him to Children's Hospital down in Dallas." We said, "Okay." So they took him onto an ambulance all the way down to Dallas Children's Hospital. Once we arrived, man, this hospital was gigantic. I got lost trying to navigate it. The first thing I did was book it to his room, and I just saw a whole bunch of nurses and doctors swarming all over his bedside. It's like a swarm of ants in white clothes. Some distance away from the bed that he was laying on, there was a couch. So my mom and I, we were on that couch. We basically slept at the hospital that night. And when I woke up, I was just devastated of how he looked. He was hooked up to all these tubes and know. There was an indescribable pain in my heart. That's when it really hit me that I had a precious little brother that I've never treasured up to this point. But the reality of almost losing him, it had never been so close. And so, right there and then, I promised myself that once he woke up, was unconscious for the first 3 or 4 days. He had a tube through his mouth, so he couldn't speak with us. I promised myself that when he woke up and he was able to talk with us again, I would be the best big brother I could be. I had to stay at the hospital for maybe a few days. I left to go home, go shower, and I came back. It's actually kind of funny. So this part, he was conscious now, but he just couldn't speak. I came in, there was a nurse there. The nurse, she's like, "Oh, are you his big brother?" I'm like, "Yes, I am his big brother. Yeah, I'm about to go help him pee. Do you want to help?" Sure. And so she handed me this cup. Looked like a Tupperware, to be honest. This Tupperware, let's call it that. And she's like, "Okay, here you go. Let him pee." I'm like, "Wait, what? Why? What?" "Oh, okay." So I held the Tupperware and helped him pee. And the pee just went, kind of splashed everywhere. Like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, that was a funny little incident there. After a week, he was discharged from the hospital. And that promise that I mentioned, I started teaching him playing tennis. At that point in time, I had played tennis for 8-9 years. So I thought, what better hobby than to play tennis, to teach tennis to my younger brother. I knew that it was going to be a very long process of teaching him how to play tennis. It's awkward because you're not leading. Tennis, for those of you that have never played it, is not an easy sport. You cannot just pick it up and start playing like you could basketball or football. It's very difficult. So the biggest takeaway that I learned from having a little brother in my life is a few things. My relationship with my parents, my whole life, had been absolutely disconnected. To put it gently, I was a lone wolf. I thought I could go through life being just by myself, relying on myself. They would help me with money here and there, but for the most part, I paid my way through college. He was the catalyst in mending our relationship with my mom and my dad. And really, if there's anything for you to take away from this, it's that everyone deserves a chance for love, especially if they're your family member. In this world, material goods truly mean nothing. What matters the most is the relationships we create. What matters the most is the helping hand we extend to those that need it. Bonds and relationships are what we should truly treasure. Nothing, absolutely nothing else matters aside from bonds that you have with the people around you. It's a difficult journey. You must find someone that will be there for you, that will treasure you like you deserve. We all have that somebody.
You're welcome. Yeah.
It's a matter of finding them. There's almost 8 billion people in this world. You only need to find a few of those people that will treasure you. So go out there and create those bonds. Those bonds will follow you for a lifetime. Never, ever betray those bonds. feel more sad.